Am I the butthole for not accommodating an autistic coworker? So I personally feel like I'm not in the wrong, but the little voice in my head keeps telling me that maybe I am. I, 28 female, have been working for the same company for just over 2 years now, and I really like my job and all of my workmates. I have this habit where I drink a breakfast shake every morning. It contains 1 banana, 100 grams of strawberries, peanut butter, almond milk and 2 scoops of protein powder. I keep it in a shaker that can be closed and sip on it throughout the morning. All was fine until a few weeks ago when a relatively new coworker asked me to please not bring the shake in anymore. I asked why, and he said something about textures. I was a bit confused and told him that it's in my shaker and he doesn't have to worry about it leaking or anything. He told me no, he's autistic and the texture of my shake is one of his triggers. I said all right and started keeping the shaker in my bag and would only take it out when I had a sip, whereas I used to just have it on my desk before. I thought that was good enough because then if said coworker walks into my part of the office, he wouldn't have to look at it. Well, the inevitable happened and he walked in right as I was having a sip. Shocked, he asked why I was still bringing the shake. I apologized for having it out right as he was walking in and explained that I usually keep it in my bag now to accommodate him. He told me that this wasn't good enough and just knowing that the shake was on the same floor could trigger him. I told him that I was sorry, but I wouldn't change my dietary routine to this extent just because of him. I'm willing to keep it in my bag, but that's as far as I will go. He said that I should be more inclusive, and if I won't change my behavior he might have to get HR involved. This happened on Friday and I'm going back to work on Tuesday. I just want to know if I'm wrong for not accommodating him before I have to face the situation again so I can change if necessary. As an autistic person myself, NTA. In fact, I've never seen a sensory aversion this extreme, and I've worked with lots of other autistic people. You're already doing more than required by keeping the shake in your bag. If his sensory problems are this severe, he's obviously not ready to be in the workplace and needs to pursue some sensory therapy. This is exactly what I wanted to say. Also, as an autistic person, I have some extreme sensory aversions that cannot be avoided just by simply going out in public. He needs to understand that you are doing your best to accommodate him, which is very sweet of you by the way, and he has to come up with his own coping mechanisms. It's unrealistic to expect the world to bend to you 24/7, despite needing some accommodations. Edit. Thank y'all so much for the award and the upvotes. Logged into C3K+, upvotes after a long day, hugs. This adding on the I am autistic train. I also give not the butthole, you're doing more than enough to help him up. You're doing more than my workplace did for me until I threatened to quit. If he is having that much issues, he needs to not work and go to therapy. I do not expect people to change what they do to make me feel better. I actually think it's wrong to expect someone to change their diet because I don't like their food. Not the butthole original poster. Adding another autistic voice, original poster, you are NTA, you tried to accommodate his request as best you could, even though it went beyond reasonable. I'd speak to HR as soon as possible though to let them know you are worried about the situation, as it could get messy if other people get involved who don't have all the details to the story. Me, too, and I concur with the others, you are NTA. I also suggest you get in first to give your side to HR in case a complaint against you is lodged. Also, you can genuinely say that a number of other people on the autism spectrum don't believe you are doing anything discriminatory and that the problem lies with your coworker, not you. Another autistic here. Definitely NTA. I understand that I can't control everything in my environment, and so I try and make sure that I come up with my own workarounds. For instance, if that was your breakfast, maybe I just wouldn't walk in your area or talk to you until lunchtime. In terms of HR and stuff, workplaces are obligated to make reasonable adjustments. Note the word reasonable in there. You keeping your shake in your bag to minimize the chance of your coworker seeing it is reasonable. You completely changing what you eat and do because your coworker is aware that something is there is not reasonable. Adding as another autistic person. Not the butthole, I am a very picky eater. I have aversions to a lot of tastes and textures. Not once has the mere existence of something I am not consuming affected me in any way. Maybe if it had a pungent smell, like pasta salad or cigarette smoke, but even that is manageable more than 5 feet away. You did your reasonable accommodation, minimizing his view of it, which shouldn't even really be your problem, it would be your boss's problem. Definitely head this off at HR. Another autistic adult here who also has autistic child and family. Absolutely NTA. You've been very accommodating, and had he not walked by at that precise moment he wouldn't have even known. And I have some pretty severe sensory aversions, also have sensory processing disorder. Adding to the autistic adult train a little late, NTA. There's only so much you can do. Sensory issues suck, but your coworker needs to find his own ways to cope with it. He shouldn't be asking you to change your life to make his easier. I almost always side with other autists in these types of scenarios, but I can't imagine what more he could reasonably expect you to do. You using a bag is a great solution and more than enough. Great job handling this, by the way. Not everyone would even try to be accommodating. Can I tag along on the autistic train too? Another not the butthole vote from me too. Sensory issues are a bitch, but it's my issue to deal with and nobody else's. I wouldn't even dream of telling original poster not to drink their shake. If it's so severe they can't cope just knowing it's there, then they need to seek a professional and take a break from work for a while. Op would still be not the butthole if they didn't put it in their bag. It's not a severe allergy coworker has, so to be honest original poster doesn't even have to do anything. Op is literally sipping a damn shake. But if I was original poster I'd go to HR when they get back to work just to inform them of what is going on before coworker can and possibly spin the tale a bit so they get to play the poor victim. I used to work as an accessibility coordinator, and yes, reasonable is the key concept in the law. What the coworker with autism is demanding, Op can't have their shake in the building, is not reasonable. Accommodations could include, this is off the top of my head, original poster finishing his shake by a given time and then the coworker not come by his area until after that time, coworker working in a different area or on a different floor, etc. But original poster should definitely go to HR first to discuss the incident and be proactive. And if the coworker has a job coach or any support staff, they should know about this so that they can work on it with him. Not the butthole. Exactly. On my last job in a call center I had my own little space, even though others hot desked, up the back corner where it was a bit quieter and no others share the desk and didn't move my stuff. No one complained and I was comfortable. I am on the spectrum and I agree, definitely. NTA. This is exactly the sort of ridiculous demand that cheapens the real accommodations the rest of us need. He's not exposed to it, he doesn't have to drink it, he doesn't even need to be aware it exists. He's trying to impose. You have no obligation to cater to his imagination, that's his responsibility. Yet another autistic person here. I have a very extreme sensory aversion, but in a public place we just have to deal. Not the butthole edit, wow, this really blew up. Exactly so. It's on us to develop our adaptive strategies. The accommodations we ask for are only to the point of making it possible and easier, within reason. The world doesn't stop because we're on the spectrum. We have a responsibility to meet it as close to halfway as we can. Another autistic person here, totally agree. I have a sensory aversion to hearing the sound of pencils on paper, especially when I'm stressed like during tests, but I'd never ask the whole class to stop writing because I can't take the pencil noises anymore, that would be ridiculous. NTA, OB. Do teachers allow you to wear earplugs? I know headphones are probably out so you can't cheat, but are there accommodations like that can help? Purely curiosity. Yeah, they do, but those enormous headphones you see some autistic kids wearing really bother me because it feels like there's a vacuum over my ears. Also, when I can't hear anything at all, I find my thoughts get so loud I can't think. I've always been allowed to take tests in a quiet room and or take a short walk when I need it. Additionally, before university I was allowed to listen to music because the special education teachers got to know me and knew that I would never cheat. I just had to keep my phone on the desk the whole time. But yeah, earplugs are totally an option for anyone who wants them. I'm not autistic, but do have severe ADHD. Just wanted to say how much I love seeing this thread of autistic voices. Severe ADHD as well, and I agree. Joy in seeing the voices, and original poster SS not the butthole. This. Definitely get your side into HR first. Agreed. Definitely let HR decide what the best course of action should be. Agreed, the first to HR gets to set the tone. As a non-autistic HR professional, I can't recommend more taking this proactively to your HR team and asking them for advice. I think she kind of has to just get ahead of this. He seems really unreasonable. I concur with the going to HR. Not the butthole, you've been more than accommodating. Just knowing it's on the same floor as me is a bullcrap complaint. Tell him he triggers you and to mind his own effing business. Cut him off at the pass, and go to HR and make it known what has happened so far in case he goes in to make a stink. Definitely agree with going to HR first to cut him off at the pass. Explain what did you when he first brought it up, keeping it in your bag, looking out to take a sip, etc. You're being beyond accommodating. The other option is to put it in a different tumbler/class and say it's something else. Even that is going too far though. Your coworker is acting entitled and spoiled in my opinion. Edit, NTA, I forgot in my original post. If you wait for him to go to HR first, he gets to set the narrative. If you have a genuine complaint about someone, always get it on the record first, especially if they're threatening to escalate to HR. Even if you're innocent and can prove it, it's better to have never been on the back foot than to have recovered from it. There's always going to be people accusatory of you, no matter how well you clear your name, just because an accusation was made. If you're on record first, the accusation doesn't carry as much weight because the counter is already there and known when hearing the accusation. I was going to say the same thing. Get in the record now. Make sure that there isn't some obtuse company policy you're supposed following that no one has ever heard of. You're not tattling, you're verifying that you are on the straight and narrow. Yup, was going to agree with going to HR first. If he gets to them before original poster does they may feel obligated, and he may even misrepresent the situation. He misrepresenting the situation is exactly my worry. He's going to go in and say I asked her not to drink it in front of me, and she was waving it in my face or some other load of crap. It's not entirely bullcrap. I'm autistic, and while I don't have this severe of a texture issue, I understand it. However, ops still NTA. People shouldn't have to go out of their way to accommodate someone else. Of course it's not entirely bullcrap, but being on the same floor as the shake? Smells like BS. Not defending the guy, original poster is not the butthole and the guy needs to work around his discomfort. But I wouldn't say he can't have that discomfort from the whole being on the same floor. Autism can be linked with obsessive thoughts, so him knowing it is there could mean he keeps thinking about it, so has the same discomfort as when he sees it. He also needs to find a way to cope with that too. Possible, but not plausible. I don't know anyone with that extreme of a trigger, but autism is a diverse spectrum. I think if you were that far to one side of the spectrum, you would not at all be employed, you wouldn't be considered fit for work. A meltdown because there's a milkshake in the building? Because there's a texture that you are never in a million years going to experience because nobody is sharing a milkshake with their hostile coworker? Come on. It's possible your autism is that bad, but if it were there's no way you'd be in public without a caregiver, never mind employed. Definitely, I don't want to lump a group of people into one box. But to have such a trigger over a smoothie on the same floor? It's just so extreme and unbelievable, I don't know. I've edited to clarify, it's a bullcrap complaint. He may have that level of sensitivity. But he doesn't get to dictate I can't be around that on that kind of scale. Jobs allow for reasonable accommodations. This accommodation is unreasonable. I can't imagine her employer siding with him. If he can't handle this, he should find a new job. NTA. NTA, as an autistic person I find it strange he's complaining about textures he's not interacting with. I can understand the noise triggering him. You've been very accommodating. If he tries to push it further, take it up with HR. In the UK at least the law is for a reasonable adjustment. I'd say you've met that perfectly fine. It's unfair for him to ask for more. Fellow autistic here, and that's exactly what I was thinking. In the US we call it reasonable accommodation and I'm pretty sure this doesn't qualify. I totally get sensory sensitivity regarding textures but he's not interacting with this texture in any way, aside from maybe seeing it, which he controls. I'm assuming this guy is at least 18 and I'm wondering how he managed to get through school and into the workplace if having a smoothie on the same floor as him is a trigger. Agreed, I'm also autistic. I have a texture aversion to slimy things, think overripe bananas. Looking at a banana with spots does gross me out. So you know what happens if I see someone eating one in class or at work? I look somewhere else. I find something else to think about. If this guy is high functioning enough to work, it's likely he can learn to manage his revulsion with some effort. Many of us can get better at managing things like this with practice. I'm autistic as well and have a huge aversion to shaker bottles, possibly like this person. They gross me TF out and I can't handle the sound and smell of items in them. My husband drinks out of them every morning. He loves them for his morning protein shake. I cannot eat or drink while he uses them. He doesn't know this, because I don't want him to not use something he likes. However, he puts them in the sink and then I can deal with it. However, I can't rinse them out or clean them at all. When I try, I throw up. He knows this, so he knows he is 100% responsible for washing them or getting them in the dishwasher. So anyway, I agree that he can handle his revulsion to an extent because mine can literally make me throw up. I've learned to deal. That is so sweet of you, but I think you need to let your husband know how much this bugs you. If it's making you vomit, he needs to know. Autistic here too. The beginning of the post almost did trigger me because I used to have a coworker with one of those shakers and the noise filled me the irrational rage daily, and I just dealt with it. The only thing I can think of is if original poster is shaking it and it is making a gloopy sound that makes the texture obvious. These over-demanding autistics give us a bad name. He's the butthole. Misophonia is a thing, and thankfully there are noise-canceling headphones and other coping tools. I have misophonia, and dear God, some sounds are god-awful. They can send me from calm and serene to rage in seconds. I've noticed the better my OCD/anxiety is controlled, the better I can tolerate those noises. The sound of plastic bags or crinkling paper are the worst. I hate the sound of a chain clicking against itself. I would agree. Except he had no idea she still had it until he actually saw it, despite her only stopping keeping it in the open the entire time. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.